Hi, I'm Brittany Gundy from the Tuesday-Thursday PM class, and today Alex and I are going to be talking about logical fallacies. So for the first question, what are the main ideas behind the concept of logical fallacies? Well, if we break down the words, logic means sound reasoning, and a fallacy is an error in reasoning that leads to an invalid argument. So the main ideas behind it, for number one, would be ways to test to see if things are untrue or invalid, and number two, checking to see if your premise supports the conclusions and both test to be true. Number two, what is challenging about this concept? Well, many fallacies are actually very similar with each other. For example, like by changing a few words in the argument, the fallacy could change from being a hasty generalization to quickly being a false dilemma. It's all about wording and all about how you portray your idea.
Hi, I'm Alex from the AM class. What are hints of suggestions you can give to help better understand the concept? So first what you have to do is you have to break down the sentences themselves into your premise and conclusion, and then use your fallacy chart to help determine which one corresponds to which particular fallacy. And the best way to do that is to literally look at each definition, which will help you determine how to break down which individual sentence. So, for example, the first one is after this, therefore because of this. This is a time-related event and something that has to do with a fallacy based on a progression throughout time. So, for example, it could be I always win because I use the same coin when I do scratch-off lotteries. This time I forgot my coin and lost. My coin is the reason that I win. This is a fallacy because the event is taking place throughout time. Hasty generalization is a quick conclusion. So it's basically I'm from the country and I traveled to New York. First day, a man yelled at me and honked his horn. All city people are rude, and everyone is always angry. It's a generalization based on a very small amount of evidence. Number three is personal attack, and it's based on distractions. So a senator claims his new tax plan will help the middle class. His opponent says he's rich and doesn't know anything about the middle class. They're not related, it's not valid because it's simply just an attack of a person's character, which is a basic distraction. And then circular reasoning is exactly as it's saying. The premise is just restating conclusion and vice versa. So I won because he lost, and he lost because I won.
So continuing with the fallacies, non sequitur means conclusion has nothing to do with the premise. So a non sequitur literally means it does not follow. So as you can see, it has nothing to do with what's going on. So an example of that would be that she drives a BMW, so she must be rich. For number six, a straw man. You're pretty much building up your premise to knock it down, which is based on beliefs. So an example would be a biology teacher begins evolution by stating that all things evolve. A student says that she can't believe that humans came from bugs. Obviously, humans did not come from bugs. Number seven, false dilemma, is black and white, a belief or claim based on mistaken reasoning. Example, you're either for us or you're against us. And then number eight, the last one, appeal to the people, or I like to say majority rules. An example would be everyone says it's okay to lie as long as you don't get caught.
And the final portion is our problem sets. So number 45, some people believe the answer to this problem is to wall off our economy from the world. He said this month in India, talking about migration of US jobs overseas. I strongly disagree. So first we have to break this down into its premise and its conclusion. The premise is the some people believe beginning portion, and the conclusion is that I strongly disagree. Now, the answer to this is strongman, and how to determine this is both the premise and conclusion are based on beliefs. Some people believe the answer to the problem is to wall off. So it's basically saying that he's using the blanketed idea of most people's beliefs to justify that's what his initial reason is. And then the I strongly disagree, there's no fact base, that's just a complete belief-based conclusion. So some of the things that it would be easy to immediately think it would be hasty generalization, because you're just completely disagreeing with what a belief is saying, and there's nothing that's concrete or factual. But since they're both based on beliefs, you can see that's a strongman, not a hasty generalization. And also, it would be easy to think it's a personal attack, because he's just disagreeing with what he's saying, not based on any facts. But since it's not necessarily an aggressive statement, it's not an attack either. So that's how we determine that this one is in fact a strongman. And the second question, on a discussion of Treaty of Versailles in a history class, a student responds, "You said this all happened 5 years before Hitler came to power. Why are you so fascinated with Hitler? Are you anti-Semitic?" Now the whole thing, right off the bat, looks like it's a fallacy because there's no concrete arguments. So the premise is the first part that goes up into student response in history class. So on a discussion of Treaty of Versailles in history class, that's the premise, and the conclusion is a student responds with this section. Since we have two specific statements that are unrelated to what was discussed in the premise, we can determine from that that this is a non sequitur because they're unrelated and they don't follow. The question of are you an anti-Semitic does not have anything to do with the discussion of the Treaty of Versailles. It's more of a personal attack, but it's not necessarily saying he is anti-Semitic, it's asking the question so that it would be easy to think that it would be a personal attack. So you have to rule that one out. And then it could also be a strongman because you're building up a case just to have these be your evidence that you're breaking down the Treaty of Versailles by asking if he's an anti-Semitic or obsessed with Hitler. So both of those could logically be it, but the correct answer is non sequitur because both asking if he's obsessed with Hitler and are you anti-Semitic does not actually relate to the discussion of the Treaty of Versailles.